and meetings and committees. So thanks for having me. I gonna start just a little bit with a little bit more of my background and why the insight I have into what companies are looking for and the exposure that I get in my day job to the types of things that companies are looking for, the trends in sort of the workforce and the future of work in general. Just because I'm fairly confident not a lot of folks know are familiar with the company ZS, or also sort of the role of what an employer brand professional does. So I'm going to start a little bit with my background. So ZS is a consulting firm. You can think of us similarly to like a Deloitte, an Accenture, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, but smaller. Those organizations have hundreds of thousands of employees. ZS is a consulting firm with about 15,000 employees. We're turning 40 this year, so it's younger even than me. And we're very specialized in consulting for the healthcare industry. So most of our clients are the top 100 pharmas, the Pfizers, the Mercks, those companies that and our general mission, vision, purpose is to help those companies, the big pharmas, the med techs, progress towards transforming global healthcare. So you can imagine that the expertise and the types of consultants that we hire come from a wide variety of backgrounds and different expertise. And so my role specifically as the head of our global employer brand is to understand and learn about who are the types of people that thrive in our organization, and the skills and the experience, no matter whether they're coming in straight from college, from campus, or more of a mid-level career, or like myself, I came into the organization, kind of 25 years in of doing this on the agency side on behalf of lots of employer clients. And so it's the insight that I get from the work and the due diligence and discovery and things that we do, and constantly learning about the types of talent that are out there and what appeals to them is what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So I just kind of wanted to start out with that context, because it's also probably very unfamiliar to a lot of folks just hearing those terms and that company name. So thanks for indulging me with that. I'm going to go through just a few slides, very, very brief, not super sexy in terms of, animation and all that kind of fancy stuff, but really just kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of what we all kind of want to learn. And so kind of focused on these four main things. What are companies looking for when they're making the decision to make a hire? What can candidates do to be a good applicant? So being an applicant is a key point in kind of the process that a candidate, job seeker, student will go through. And there's a unique circumstance there where, the on paper of how they show up as in an application and being an applicant is very different from, how to prepare somebody for more of the in-person and interview stage. What kind of skills, should a college student look to possess or work on as they're thinking about joining the workforce? And then just some quick list of places where you as mentors, can check out and get some insight into some of the tools that are out there directly for students these days and to help them with their job search. So the first, question there, what do companies look for in a hire? So the trend right now, really to the advantage of CBO students and those that are going to be, entering the workforce soon, is that really in the last, and the pandemic ushered this some, but it was starting even before that. But the focus on the kind of soft and transferable skills that don't necessarily show up in your degree from what school and from what major and da 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 da. It's really about, understanding that people and talent bring different things to the table, and really kind of shifting the focus on the true value of some of the softer skills of just being able to communicate, having empathy, putting yourself, sort of in the position of the person that you're engaging with and trying to understand, what is going to matter to them. Those are the types of things that companies are looking for right now. Certainly this probably goes without saying, but it's certainly worth putting a fine tune on. More important than, like I said, the school you're coming from, not more important. In a lot of cases, equally as important, what you can demonstrate in, having a college degree and from a certain school and from a certain program, your general attitude and approach to that, and the pride and purpose that comes from why you've selected what you've selected to pursue, is huge in making a decision about hiring somebody. Because ultimately those types of things sometimes that you can't always teach in that kind of formal curriculum, it comes down to a culture fit. So the uniquenesses across organizations all come down to their culture and sort of the unique combination of what makes up that culture. And hiring managers, recruiters being able to kind of gauge based on some of those maybe less tangible things during the hiring process goes, a ton into kind of that decision and how they're making the decision on who to hire against the next person, because a lot of times on paper, folks look the same. So those are kind of the ways you put a finer tune on, because the answer to all of these questions too also is it depends on the company. So I'm trying to kind of generalize that some into what it all comes down to. The last point here is very timely in the moment right now. So, and this is a trend and a factor in making a hire, and also for talent making a decision on an employer, is whether the working experience is going to be 100% remote, whether it's going to be a hybrid of being remote or on site, or it's a frontline type of position where you're always going to be on site. And so preparing students and those that are going to enter the workforce in being able to be honest with themselves about what type of environment they're going to thrive in the most is a big piece of what goes into making hiring decisions now. Because the world has gone and flipped upside down in a lot of ways, in the sense that location plays an entirely different role in how companies market themselves to prospective job seekers, but also to the way talent should consider in really being honest about the experience that they're going to have in kind of entering the workforce. So that's why that's it seems sort of an odd thing to think about, but it's really part of every single conversation on both sides of the interview table, both the employer and the prospective applicant. Secondly, what makes a good applicant? So the application stage, this is the toughest part, because the systems and the processes that individual employers have and how they capture applications and process applications is, I think, probably the area the most ripe for disruption, and how people make the connection between somebody that's applying for a job and who to select. So really working with them in understanding and getting them to do the research on the exact requirements and qualifications for that specific opportunity, and making sure that their resume and the application that they're submitting has like almost literal keyword matches to those things. Because while AI and that kind of stuff is getting better at kind of being deductive about that, it really still is. That's, if you can make it past that sort of first round of evaluation and selection, is super important. And then, along with that, the show versus tell. So using the application and the whatever documentation that it is, in being able to show and demonstrate your skills through experience and, impacts results that, happened either to you or towards, the program or initiative, wherever you were gaining that experience. And then also, I'm excited to hear from the recruiters and the talent acquisition consultants on this piece, but persistence with patience. So because that process of, for recruiters, especially now where we've kind of shifted into less of a candidate market into more of an employer market, recruiters are inundated with so many applications all the time. And so the urgency that a job seeker has, because rightfully so, this is a life decision, this is a major thing. Sometimes things don't happen at the pace that, especially nowadays where things are so much now. And I'll go quickly through the next two because I know I'm running out of time. So related to that, what's important for a college student to think about, work on as they're, preparing for a job search? Research and preparation, doing as much due diligence as you can to research the company that you're interested in and or the industry that you're interested in, to be able to get yourself prepared. I've listed a couple things on the next slide of different places where there's sort of aggregates of places where you can learn about lots of different companies all in the same place. Certainly the elevator pitch, this probably goes without saying, but the ability for a student to answer the very vague, open-ended questions. Tell me about yourself. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? All those kinds of things. The poise and presence with being able to do that with ease is the most important thing, in my experience, that is what they should be learning at this phase. And then lastly, just some of the other places where us as mentors, can think about and guide students to, outside of obviously their career services and, things like CBO that they'll have access to. Certainly LinkedIn. I mean, this is becoming, this is your digital resume. This is the network ultimately that you build, and the members in this particular platform are all very nicely organized by industry and by company. And so it's just a #1 spot to help in that kind of research and preparation. And then the others that I have listed here are a mixture of job board aggregators. So Indeed is, you can think of it as like Google for Jobs. So this is a search engine that is entirely made up of job postings from aggregated employers all over the world. And you can search by location, by function, by experience. Glassdoor is kind of the Yelp of the working world. So this is where employers, work to market themselves through the voice of their employees. And so the reviews that are posted there by employees of certain companies, things that you can learn about, different interview processes, the salaries. This is a huge piece of where students can learn about kind of what their own market value is compared to, the types of roles that they're applying for, and give them insight into those types of numbers. Fishbowl is sort of a derivative of that. It's a little bit more on the snarky side. So this is where you get some of the inside baseball look at the true, some of the lived, I won't say always true, but it's lived experiences from people. And then Handshake and WayUp are both platforms that schools use as a tool for their career services and as a service to their employer partners that recruit specifically from those schools. And so there's a ton of information in those platforms on different employers that are marketed to students through through those channels. So that was maybe a tad longer than 15 minutes, so I apologize, but thank you for listening and indulging me, and I'll be sure to make these and my direct contact information if you have questions about these. I've been doing this for 25 years, so I could go on for much, much longer.
Fantastic. That was marvelous and a great introduction for us because it gave us a framework to work from. So Erin, that was just perfect.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate what you told us, especially as mentors, because you really geared it toward what can help us with our students. So next, I think we'll have Stephanie Hyatt and David Costello from Granger, who will talk to us regarding their experiences and ways in which their knowledge base and ways in which what they have to tell us can help us with our students.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great evening. Erin, that was a great presentation. I hope you're sharing that with the group.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll definitely use that over here. So a little bit about Granger before we get started, because not everyone is familiar. I know I wasn't when I was reached out. So when you think about Granger, we help with everything and anything. So we're able to supply materials for anything inside and outside of the building. So for example, hospitals, right, they need their hand sanitizers, nitrile gloves, teddy bears, snacks, schools, they need janitorial supplies, like anything we can outsource, roofing, a parking lot, really anything they would need, like we can help. Our customers are manufacturing customers like General Mills, we have commercial like hotels, healthcare, government, military. And schools. Just a little bit about me. So I am actually a first college generation student, so really passionate about all the work that you all are doing. And I actually did not have any sort of resources when I was going through college. So I think this is great that you're dedicating your time to help first generation students. I actually was reached out by a recruiter on LinkedIn to come and work for Granger, and I had never heard of the company at the time. I was working for a retailer, Victoria's Secret, as a manager in training while going to school full time. And I was like, sure, like everything you're telling me sounds great. The financials, the hours, tuition reimbursement, like, sure, let's talk. Glad I did, because that led me to being here. I started off in inside sales. Then from there, I wanted to explore the outside sales, which I handled heavy manufacturing and contractor customers. And then I wanted to dabble into what I majored in, which was human resources. So did a search assignment, learning more about talent acquisition, while still doing outside sales and going to school. They had an open position. I applied, I got hired, and then about 6 months later, they asked me if you're interested in full cycle recruiting, which is reviewing resumes, getting the candidates on the phone, interviewing them, and then presenting the candidates to the hiring managers as to why they would be a good fit. And yeah, it was like I got that job. Then I had my baby and I decided I wanted to become a part-timer, but still wanted to work for the organization. And I was lucky enough that they were able to keep me on part-time. So now I am helping out in the technology space with my peer David, so learning all about techs, and also working with our immigration incoming applications as well. So just a little bit about my journey. So, you know, as a recruiter, but also as someone that didn't really know like what to do after college, I would say like definitely encourage your mentees to create a LinkedIn profile. They're like a lot of recruiters are on there looking at profiles. Like usually what we look at is how long have they been in a job for? What are they doing, right? What are their core responsibilities? But also what school, right? Like not what school, but like how long until they graduate? Did they just graduate? Did they have a high GPA? Were they in any sort of activities, sports? We like to look at that. And also any extracurriculars like volunteering, you know, at languages, skills like Microsoft, PowerPoint, Excel, like those things that may seem so basic to us, it does matter, especially if the job specifically is requiring you to have those skills. But also I would encourage your mentees, like, if they feel like they're not qualified for a job because they majored in English, but they, you know, do have experience to maybe go into like a data scientist role, like apply or reach out to that recruiter. I've gotten so many emails from potential candidates saying like, hey, I saw this job posting. Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, you know, can I just have 5 minutes of your time? I'm like, sure, like, let's hop on a Teams call, like send me your resume. I'll take a look at it. I'm not the right recruiter, but I'll go ahead and share with my peers. And if they believe that your experience is good, then they'll reach out. I've had 2 instances where I've shared the resumes and the candidates have gotten hired. So like, it's totally okay to like, just, you know, get out of your comfort zone and reach out to someone. So I would say for me, like that would be like the biggest advice is just encourage them to get out of their comfort zone. And definitely like, if they think they're not qualified, yeah, just apply. It doesn't hurt to apply and interview. And most of the times the managers like will give you feedback and they'll work with you. At least here at Granger, like we like to keep our candidates on bench and have like virtual coffees with them and help them, you know, if they're not ready yet, like help them get there and kind of give them a realistic timeline. But yeah, those would be my few advices, and I will pass it on to my peer David.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Of course, my name is David Costello, and I have been at Granger now for the better half of 6 months, so brand new with the organization. I've been in technical recruiting, so recruiting for engineers, software engineers, for the last 10 years. So I began my career in 2013, and what's really funny, and I think something I would love to share is, you know, piggybacking off of Stephanie and you know, basically, you know, I never had recruiting or software engineering recruiting in my mind as a career path or career choice. You know, I was a political science major with the goal of essentially getting my Juris Doctorate and becoming a lawyer. That was my goal career path. And once I graduated with my bachelor's in political science, I was actually in my graduation ceremony in Arizona, and the organization that I was with for about 4 or 5 years at the time, they called me and asked, hey, are you interested in a role recruiting for software engineers? And I was like, well, I don't know much about it, but I'll hear you out. And I also wanted to stay in Arizona and didn't want to move back to Chicago just yet at the time. So interviewed, heard them out, and have been a recruiter, a software engineering recruiter ever since. So was kind of thrown into this whole world, but it's been a great career choice, career path. My favorite part of recruiting is staying on top of current market technologies and getting a feel for where the world is at from a technical perspective and where different organizations are at from a technical perspective. So I always like to say, I'm not sure I would be as passionate about recruiting if it wasn't for being in the tech space. I like to say that just because it's one of my favorite things is to learn and speak with engineering managers, engineers themselves, and get a feel for, again, where the organization or the world in general is from a technology perspective. So, if you're a new college grad or about to graduate, never my best advice would be to never pigeonhole yourself and make sure to hear out any opportunities that may come your way, just because you never know what it is that you might find a new passion in, right? And now looking back, it would be great to be a lawyer and have pursued that dream, but couldn't be happier landing here now at Grainger, and helping them with their recruiting efforts in the software space. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. What else? What else do you guys want to know?
Well, what I think I heard loud and clear was to keep an open mind from you in terms of your background, is to keep an open mind about opportunities that come your way.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if I heard you well when you stated, how is it that you found out about the software engineer? Who reached out to you?
Yeah, so Arizona State University, like most universities, they have a college board where you will put your resume on the website. So we called it at ASU Career Link. So if you're up for graduation in a few months, or you're graduating, in the coming weeks, you put your resume on that career link, and it's open for a number of different companies and organizations to see. And if they're interested in your experience, they'll just give you a call. So I happened to put my resume on ASU Career Link, and a number of different companies had called me upon graduating, but I ended up going with the software engineering recruiting role, and ended up being with that company for the better half of 5 years. So learned quite a lot. I like to say that the owner of that company was a smaller mom and pop agency, not like a Tech Systems, or not even like a Grainger, a large organization. It was a smaller company, and I essentially was taken under the wing of the owner of that company, and he taught me a lot. Not only about professionalism, recruiting, software engineering, but just how to be a professional, and work ethic. And those are things that are you can't replace, right? So it was one of the best decisions I made, was to keep that open mind. And again, even though it was outside of being a lawyer, going to more school to become a lawyer, it kickstarted my career. And now I'm back in Chicago. I'm here at Grainger, and I think I could provide a lot of value to a company like Grainger, and I'm very happy to be here.
So you received all your training from them then, in terms of your software engineering?
Correct. So that organization, and then I joined after that 5 years, and I decided to move back to Chicago. I joined AWS, Amazon, and did a contract with them for about 18 months, and then joined Wayfair. And obviously, I think most people know the layoffs that happened at Wayfair recently. So yeah, now within a Grainger, an organization that seems to be doing well in this economy. So very happy about that.
So I'm hearing, what I'm hearing from you too is the fact that that you have to be aware of students need to be aware of the opportunities open to them at school.
Yep.
Because that career board was there, and that's from school, as well as what Aaron told us about those other websites that, Fishbowl and et
Right.
cetera. So we can help the student. I'm trying to think of ways in which we can help the student, with finding those resources. Here's a question that I would direct to you, and then we'll listen to Career Spring. It says, can you list the key questions you would ask a college student in an interview for a position in recruiting? Like in your interview questions.
And I guess that question is addressed to me.
Yes, or Stephanie.
Yeah, so specific, so for our interview guides at Granger, we do have a function specific, but most of the time they're pretty similar in a sense, because if you have experience in the systems, but just based on like the 1 hour that we get with you and your resume, if you can show that you're able to work with a team, like you have the persistence of the organization, right, then like we're going to want to talk to you. So like, for example, when you look at really like anyone on this call can be a recruiter, it's just like, are you able to organize? Can you talk to people? Do you have presentation skills, public speaking skills? Looking at all of that, and then just how you present yourself in an interview, right? Do you send a thank you email afterwards, which is huge for us. We love when we get thank you emails from candidates. I think Erin mentioned the persistence of patience. If like a week has passed by, like we've had some candidates follow up like, hey, like, really enjoyed my conversation with you. Here are some key things as to why I would be a great fit. Like that stands out. And I immediately always forward that on to the hiring manager. Like, hey, like, I know, like you said, like these were like the top 3, but this is the only person I've received an email from. So then they kind of like get bumped a little bit, right? So I hope that kind of answers the question. Those are just like, if we're talking recruiter wise, like anyone can be a recruiter. It's just like, do you have like the core skills that can't really be taught?
And I've
And then
seen
Erin,
sorry.
Thank you so much. Erin, is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Those things about the questions that you would ask instead of, along with tell me about yourself, those open-ended ones?
Yeah, the biggest one that I didn't mention that I think applies to whether it's recruiting, interviewing to be a recruiter, interviewing to be a software engineer, interviewing to be anything, is being prepared to answer the question of, why are you interested in this role? Or why are you interested in this company? Because the answer to that question and the way that it's delivered says so many things. So the true pride, purpose, and passion of what drives and motivates and what somebody cares about comes out in that answer. And so that's also, a way for, somebody to, make a connection and sort of an evaluation on culture fit. So that would be the number one question that I would, make sure students or anybody that's going into any interview be prepared to answer in a way that's also, encourage them, be honest, be sincere, don't try to spin it, in a way, because ultimately everybody is done a disservice in that sense. If you're not honest with yourself about the answer to that question, you're going to be unhappy. The employer is going to have a wrong fit. And so that would be the number one question that I would prepare folks to be able to answer.
And then David, did you have something else to finish
Yes.
that out before we bring on the other speaker?
Yeah, I wanted to address Karen's question. Hi, David. How did you find your other jobs after you left the small company in Arizona? And can you expand on the role of having a mentor with your first job? So I would love to answer that because it's one of the most important career decisions I've ever made. And that was networking and creating and building a relationship with other recruiters. So how I landed the job at Amazon, how I landed the job at Wayfair was years of building a network of other recruiters and chatting with them anytime. Hey, how's the market looking? I heard so-and-so are having layoffs, or I heard this particular industry is not doing so well. What are you seeing in the market? What companies are you seeing that are hiring? Can you get me into this company or make an introduction? So, how I got into an AWS and in a Wayfair was by building and networking and creating relationships that are still, standing today with other recruiters that work at other organizations. So I think networking, via LinkedIn or any way is the best way, and building relationships with other folks in your industry is the best way to get into, some of these companies that, like an Amazon, where you may send an application and then it's sitting in cyberspace for a year and no one sees it, right? So creating and building relationships with other recruiters has been, the most valuable thing for me.
Yeah, and that's, again, there's another piece that we can talk about after that in terms of building those relationships. But I'd love to bring on, and thank you so much, all of you. You've been very, very helpful. And also your shared experiences have helped us as well in terms of direction. So I want to have Yasmin talk right now, because Career Spring is something that the CBO has bought into and is beginning with the students. And so we'd love for you to tell us all about it and ways in which the mentees can work with it and with you, and also maybe we can help encourage them in the process. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yes, we love that. Thank you. And thanks to all of the presenters thus far. Everything you said really resonates with me and our work and has really teed up my portion of tonight. So we are Career Spring. We're a free career access resource for first generation and low income students. And we've partnered with CBO to get your students, your mentees on the platform utilizing our resources. I will actually go ahead and share my screen so that I can show you instead of tell you about us. So here's our website, careerspring.org. We really focus on 3 main areas of career access. So Inform is that first piece. We have a video library with over 500 videos of professionals sharing about their career paths and what their career looks like today. So they all answer a set of questions, and it's really meant for a way for students to really learn about a lot of different types of careers, right? To the points earlier, first gen low income students, I think many students in general might not know about the myriad careers that are out there and how they might fit into those careers. So that's our video library, is really that inform piece. Secondly, we have the advise piece. So we have a forum of professionals who have signed up to meet one-on-one with students. So this isn't traditional mentorship. This is rather a way for students to network and to build social capital really quickly with 30-minute conversations, asking professionals career advice, asking for tips, interview skills. If they would like their resume reviewed by a professional, we have folks on here who have signed up to do that. And of course, students can meet with as many folks as they want. We have some students on the platform that have met with, 20 advisors already in the span of a few months. So we'd love for your mentees to take advantage of that, of course. And then lastly, we offer job placement services. So we partner with employers around the country to post internships, paid internships, and entry-level roles for students that are on the platform. And our job placement team actually works one-on-one with any student who applies to make sure that they're prepared for the interview process, make sure the resume and cover letter all look ready to go. And we also advocate on behalf of the student to the employers, because we build those relationships intentionally as a way to create a win-win, right? Our students get access to these jobs and hopefully land these jobs. The employers get access to a pool of talent that they might not necessarily have access to. So I would love to show you what the platform looks like, because all of your students, I should say many of your students, if not all of them, have already signed up. And so I'd love to show you kind of what they see on their end so that you can encourage them to sign on and kind of see what we've got going on. So if your students have not signed up, they're able to do so really quickly with a passcode here. The passcode for your students is CBO grad. That's the passcode for all college students. I can put that in the chat as well. But like I said, many of them have already signed up. And so what the passcode does for them, since CBO is a partner of ours, it gives them a fast track to registration. So it allows them to share with us, what's your major, or what are you thinking about majoring in? Where are you at school? What are some jobs that you might be interested in? Just tell us, tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can then do some work on the back end to see if we can match them with advisors, jobs, videos, etc. So our AI does all of that magic for us. So I'm going to log in. This is just our Phantom student access account so that you can see what it looks like for them. And we can give you all access to that as well if you'd like to just poke around. So once they log in, it'll say welcome, their first name. If they need any help, they can always reach out to our staff. And we have some suggestions here for students who are just signing up for the platform. Otherwise, this main page, this landing page, has upcoming meeting requests or messages with advisors that they'd like to chat with, suggestions for people that they might be interested in, again, based on their major or interests, and then jobs that they might be interested in as well. So I'm just going to go through quickly here so that you can see what each of those pieces looks like. So our video library, again, that inform piece for students to learn a lot about various careers and have access to people who are, doing them day to day. So you'll see we have a bunch of different types of careers on here. These videos are meant to be informal as a way for professionals to casually share, what does it mean to be a financial advisor? What does it mean to be a software engineer? And students can also filter out by function or field of study. So if they're interested in accounting, majoring in accounting, they'll have a bunch of different types of accountants on here sharing a little bit about what a day in the life of an accountant looks like, what compensation looks like, what credentials are needed, and what advice they have for people who might be interested in becoming accountants. So that's the video library. That's our inform piece. The advisor forum has all of these professionals, over 1,500 now across the country, who have signed up to chat with students one-on-one for 30-minute one-off meetings. So this AI, again, has matched them based on the students' interests, but students can go in here, they can filter out, do they want to speak to someone who's also first gen? Do they want to speak to someone who's at an employer where they're applying? Do they have a particular advice topic they want to chat about? Location-wise, field of study, again, university, maybe they want someone who's an alum of their school. And so what this allows students to do is check out advisors' profiles, right? See, where have they worked? Where did they go to school? What languages did they speak? Were they first gen themselves? Are they an employer? And book a consultation with these folks right here. So let's just say I'm a student, I'm interested in speaking with this advisor Friday at 6 p.m. I can send her a message. Thanks for offering to help. I need career advice. I was hoping we could focus on XYZ. I can attach my resume or cover letter if I'd like her to look at that. And then that'll shoot off to the advisor to see if that time is still available for them. If not, students can message back and forth. And then they sign on to the platform at that time. They receive a calendar invitation, both click the link and they meet there. So our advisors go through some training in order to be able to facilitate that conversation in case the student shows up and they're not prepared with a list of questions, right? Oftentimes oftentimes they're ready to go. They're like, okay, tell me what it means to be an architect. I'm majoring in this. What should I do? How do I even get started? And then we have some, suggested questions as well. So this is the advisor forum. Again, students can meet with as many folks as they want. We encourage them to do so, right? So that they can learn a lot about various career paths from different people, since everyone's path looks differently, of course. The only other thing I'll mention here is that we do have these special advisors called candidate coaches. And if you filter out here, you'll see a list of HR professionals who have volunteered to meet with students as well, but they have some extra training, right? Given their profession, they have a lot of different topics that they can chat with students about: elevator pitches, resume and cover letter review, preparing for an interview, managing a team, all of these various things. So oftentimes when students come to us, we say, perhaps you should meet with a candidate coach first to really get the ball rolling and start building out your application materials. The last thing I'll share, and then I'll stop for questions because I know we're getting close to time, is the job placement board. So this is kind of the bread and butter of what we do. Like I mentioned, we partner with employers across the country to post jobs, and we work with them to find the right candidate through our students. So just to give you a sense, again, students can filter by location, seniority, industry, and just to show you what this looks like. So let's say I'm in Jacksonville, I'm interested in this credit risk intern position. I'll see a typical job description, what they're looking for in terms of qualifications, essential duties, values, sometimes compensation is listed here as well. And to apply, they actually just upload their resume and give us just a few pieces of information about them. That then alerts our job placement team, which is a group of folks who meet with students one-on-one for 15 to 20 minutes once they've applied to a position, work with them, make sure, again, the resume looks good, make sure they're ready for the interview process, see if there are any other positions they might be interested in based on their resume and interests. And then we actually apply on the student's behalf to the employers. So given that all of these employers are partnered with us, they await a list of applicants for these positions, which again allows us to advocate for the student, which we're really grateful for. And then the student goes through the application process as they normally would otherwise. So I will stop there. I know that was a lot of information, but I did want to show you just what it looks like from the student perspective, since all of your students have access to our resource, and we'd love for you to encourage them to use it. If I wanted to assist as a career coach, how do I do that? We would love to have you. I will put my email in the chat. Feel free to shoot me an email tonight or tomorrow, and we can get you connected. And then again, the passcode for your students is CBO grad, but many of them have already signed up. I'll stop sharing.
I mean, it's overwhelmingly fabulous. I mean, there's not one piece of this process that you don't do. And it's just the do part that is so hard for a student. But now that we know what's there, that's why it's so important for us to we could say, hey, let's go on, or whatever, or suggest, or did you do, or there's all kinds of ways to approach this, but outstanding. I see there's, the passcode. We're getting here toward the end, but we have a couple of announcements, but there may be some other questions from the mentors. So before we go to the announcements, does anyone on the call here, yes. It says Barbara Smith. Can you turn on your
Can you
volume?
hear me? I have a question.
Okay.
This Career Spring sounds great, almost too good to be true. It sounds so great. But who pays for this and who's like, how is
Great
this?
question.
There's no fee.
There's no fee for our education and employer partners. This is a question I get this question 10 times a day, right? Because we are free for all students, all education, all community partners. We get funding from our employer partners. It's not a requirement to partner with us, but they have an opportunity to sponsor. Many of them do so through their philanthropic wing or foundation of the corporation. And then we
Okay.
do get some grant funding as well. So we are, a 501c3 constantly applying for grants because we do want to make sure this remains free for all students and all of our ed partners as well.
Is this for any student or only for a student who's involved in an organization like a CBO?
Any student who identifies as the first in their family to go to college or low income.
Okay. And then I have another question, if I may.
Sure.
Yes,
My college student is a freshman. I think it's too early to start loading her up with all this information. I think she'll freak out. I just don't know, like, when is the right time to start talking about stuff like this?
Susan, do you want to address that, or Julie, or?
It seemed like Erin wanted to speak to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Erin.
I can definitely speak to that. So, Susan, I hear you loud and clear. So all of the sort of insights and information that we looked at tonight, especially the inside look into the Career Spring program and platform and what that, gives students access to as a freshman. Yes, totally overwhelming. That said, what Catherine was saying, the preparation piece and the actual doing to, get your profiles set up and, start to think about the ways that you figure out ultimately what you want to do when you grow up, kind of thing. That's the type of stuff at the freshman level that is important for them to know and understand, and how they, in the absence of knowing the answers to a lot of those questions, what are the tools and ways that can help inform, and where are the places that they can go to do that research to help them figure it out. That's the, kind of the freshman to the, kind of first half of what should they be doing then. But certainly the advisory services, the candidate coaches that Career Spring provides, that's just the start of building your network. And the more that you can, start to, make those connections and feel comfortable about being uncomfortable in making those outreaches is kind of the freshman timing.
And is this,
And
If I can
also-
just jump in for 1 second. Hi, I'm Leslie Alter. I work for CBO. I also have in my previous career iterations, a background in university career services and college recruiting human resources. So colleges like to engage with students from freshman year on. They have developmentally appropriate activities, exploration, and whole sort of curricula that follow the student through all 4 years. And the sooner a student gets used to engaging, not just with platforms like Career Spring, but whatever the offerings are on campus, is really positive.
Right. It's all part of the exploration process, and it's exploring to see what's out there, and without that pressure of, oh, I have to decide, oh, I have to declare a major, oh, I actually have to do this. It's like, it's a evolving process, and I think uncomfortability, patience, persistence, all those words that were spoken tonight are words that are very valuable for the students. And again, it's what we know. They don't need necessarily to know all of this, but to be aware that it exists. And little by little, because you spend time with your mentee, that time can be spent in many different ways. One of a little piece of it could be talking a little bit about this from time to time, or what they like to do. I see, yes. Jackie said, never too early to dip the toe into the water to learn how to job search, because it's a lifelong process, as we know, and it doesn't end. Okay.
So what is particularly useful about Career Spring when students are freshmen in college is that you can go on their video library and explore careers based on their field of study or what they think their field of study is. Because most of the time, they have a major, psychology, biology, and they have an idea of what they think they're going to do with it, but they don't really know all the things that they really could do with it. So it's really useful to go on that career library and filter by your area of study or what you think is your area of study, and to start exploring what you could possibly do with that major. When they have to pick a major, when they're applying to college, their senior year of high school, and colleges make them pick a major, which we think is ridiculous, but it's the way it is. They don't really know. And they may discover in that searching in Career Spring that they are interested in a different field of study, which may then prompt them to major in something that they didn't realize that they really were interested in. So in addition to learning how to engage with people in the career office at their college campus, they can also start exploring different fields of study. So there's a lot of things they can do without any pressure when they're college freshmen, because they don't have to be
Great
looking for a
idea.
job at that time.
That's a great idea.
Can
And
I just
also,
add one other thing?
Yeah.
I also think, for us at CBO, we're continuing to do this type of work with the students. We have the internship fair, we have these workshops all in June to help build a lot of these skills with the students, but often the mentors aren't there. So this is really just an opportunity for you all to understand the work that we're doing with the scholars, so that you know how you can help support them when they might talk about it, or now you can start a conversations with them about it. You don't have to force
Right.
this upon them, but now you know what they're going to be doing and what they learn throughout the year, and you can continue to work on those with the students.
Right. The guide on the side, right? The guide on the side. Well, again, we're going to listen for, we're going to have a couple announcements here, but before that, I really want to thank our presenters tonight for their clarity, their down-to-earthness, the usefulness of what you've told us, and the wonderful resources and the ways in which you have taken your paths and develop them and continue to develop them as you go on. You give us great potential, knowing that students have lots of places they can explore, and that CBO allows them to do that. You volunteered to be with us tonight, so thank you very much. So before we leave, I want to see if either Julie or Susan have any announcements regarding what the college students will be doing coming up, or happenings.
So the only announcement I have is also, just to let you all know, Granger, Stephanie and David from Granger, they sent a kind of I don't think it's one, maybe it's 2 pages, all about LinkedIn and helping students with their LinkedIn profile and some tips about it. So Susan Bell, when she sends out the notes to all the college mentors following this meeting, she will include those tips about LinkedIn and the LinkedIn profile in that email. So be on the lookout for that. And otherwise, the only other thing I have is that next month, March 1st, will be a meeting for all high school and college mentors. And we are having a parent panel. So learning directly from the parents what it's been like for their student to be part of CBO.
Yes, something not to miss. They are stars, superstars, let's put it that way, with their wonderful children. So you don't want to miss it. Susan, anything else you'd like to let us
No,
know?
appreciate all of you joining us tonight. Great turnout, so thank you.
Yep.
And like Julie said, this is not something to force onto your mentees. This is just another talking point when they ask you for advice about a lot of these things, but things that you can also suggest to them at any stage of the college process. So thanks so much for coming tonight.
Yes, wonderful,
again,
wonderful. Thank you
Erin,
so much,
Stephanie,
everyone.
Yeah, and to the presenters, thank you so much for
Yes.
giving us your time tonight. We appreciate
Super.
it.
You.
Super,
Absolute
super.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
very,
you.
very
Yeah.
much. Good
Thank you
night.
all.
Great meeting.
See you in March.
Everyone, take care.
Bye.